Perfect. Hello, everyone. Good day, and welcome to Session 1 for Day 2 of PyCon Indonesia 2020. My name is Zaki, and I will be the moderator for this noon session with Johannes Alexander as the speaker. Joe is an experienced data architect designing an end-to-end data solution to fulfill business needs, and on this session, he will deliver talks about cloud-native development for Python, which will focus on online-offline development using WSL, Codespaces, and DevOps. And now he's here with us for this session, and I'm going to share your screen.
Sure, thanks a lot, Masaki.
Okay, it looks great.
Cool.
Without further ado, the stage is yours, Mas Joe. For the participants, you can keep those questions coming on Hopin platform, and the moderator's team will collect them and we will discuss it in a Q&A session. Let's give a big round of virtual applause to Johannes Alexander.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Dan. So, okay. So, thanks again, I guess, for Mazaki and also for PyCon Indonesia, right? For having me here. It's really happy. I'm really happy to share this, right? This material, and I guess hopefully with this topic, it can help you understand about the cloud native development, right? Um, this topic most probably will be like the most basic compared to other advanced topics that already discussed, I guess, in this event, right? I believe you already learn a lot. I think from data and AI, from apps infrastructure, from the programming itself, and the open source. I guess there's a lot of great topic here. So I guess that one is a really great one. And with this, I'm trying just to get into the basic, get to the basic into the cloud native development, and hopefully with this basic stuff, it can help you all basically to create some amazing Python program, right? And also putting those into the production and how you can utilize some of the cloud services that you can use, so you can basically can develop anywhere, right? And also you can put your application, let's say some web apps, into the public internet to be accessed really quickly, like in a matter of minutes. So this one will be a really basic one, and hopefully you can enjoy these topics, and hopefully you can basically combine each of the things that you already learned during all of this event with this talk that I will give to you in the upcoming minutes. So I'm right now sitting at my computer in my home. So, and also I'm using two of the screens. So bear with me if, let's say, I'm turning my head around because I'm seeing the second screen and stuff, right? So hopefully it should be okay for you. So let me start, I guess, right? Okay, so the agenda for the next probably 30 minutes, right? 20 to 30 minutes will be really simple. I have put some of the demo, some of the repository, I guess, that you can access as well if you want to. Um, it will be like me introducing myself in the next slides, and also some of the agenda is basically about the offline online development using WSL. Is basically Windows subsystem for Linux, and also the Codespaces. And the next, and on how you can care about the deployment and also the automation, basically about the basic of the CI/CD, and also EAC is basically infrastructure as code. That's it. Will be some of the slide and some of the demo. So hopefully you can enjoy the talk that I'll give to you, and hopefully you can learn a lot. And please do ask the question. I'm really happy to help. I will answer right away if I understand and also know the answer. But I'll promise I will get back to you if there is some of the question that I cannot answer right away. So I guess for the introduction, right? Hi again. So my name is Johanes Alexander. So I'm currently as a cloud solution architect at the Microsoft. Prior to this, I'm working like 3.5 years at Gojek, mostly on the solution architect for the big data. So basically, at that time, joining Gojek at 2016 is still, is still a fun timeline, creating a lot of big data infrastructure with my teams. And also I move as a product engineer, basically a backend one, and also move as a machine learning engineer as well. I'm also have graduated as a computer engineer as my bachelor, and also for my master I'm doing my business administration, right? So I guess that's it. Without further ado, I guess I just can right into the topics and do some demos for you. Hopefully it will help. Okay, so for the offline and online development, right? I guess this is a pretty interesting topic, especially for now, right? I guess most of us right now is working from home. Some of us is having um, a great development machine for you to do stuff, right? Although I know the Python is really cool, and also is not that heavy to be run everywhere, right? But I guess related to development machine, depending on your workload, at some point maybe you need higher spec up virtual machine, let's say, not sorry, development machine for you to do your stuff, let's say for machine learning, those kind of stuff, right? And here I'm basically want to share with you on how you can use the Windows basically to ease you up to do the development of the Python itself, right? Especially Python, but it's basically a general thing that you can use. And also using the Codespaces. Basically, this is the new features in the GitHub. It's called GitHub Codespaces. But if you a long time Microsoft user, then probably you already know like a Visual Studio Online, which is basically the same. I'm gonna share with you at the moment. So. This is the promises, right? Basically, the idea is, especially in this pandemic era, I guess capability to develop anywhere is really important, right? If you see here on the screen, basically, of course, if your PCs or your laptop or basically any of your development machine can open the browser, then probably it can also open some of code editor or IDE basically to run the Python. But if you see over here, you can just open the GitHub and then open the Visual Studio Code Online, which is basically a GitHub code space where you can directly code within your browser, right? So in this case, other than this, which is basically what I call an online development, you of course there's also the offline part where basically you can utilize the WSL, where is basically the Linux version where you can put kind of like lightweight virtualized Linux in your system, which is really great. So for me, let's say most of my experience is working with a lot of Linux system. So to be honest, working with my desktop PC, which I usually use for gaming, right, it's not really convenient to do stuff at the Windows environment. At least for me, I don't know whether you have the feeling the same. So that's why WSL is really helping me to set up a separate environment using Linux, which is the more user friendly, at least for me, right, to do the development and stuff. Of course, you can always use the Docker and everything else, but this one is like one of the alternative, native alternative from the Windows, where you can basically put your Linux kernel into on top of the Windows, where basically you can use that as normal Linux PCs. And also the new features will be coming in, like a GPU support, let's say for the machine learning, or let's say for the desktop support. I guess it will be coming as well. So that's basically it. So after this, I will demo some of the experience that you can use for developing in the Windows using WSL, and also the code spaces where you can use basically any devices. As long as you can access the web browser, then basically it can be your development machine, right? So I guess I'm gonna put some of the demo, probably like a 5 minutes, hopefully, demo, like a quick one, and hopefully you can grasp the basic idea of this. So hopefully you can see my screen now, and then I'm gonna go to the VS Code right here, right? I guess in this thing, I won't focus too much with the Visual Studio Code itself, right? I guess the VS Code is one of the, code editor, text editor / IDE that usually used by almost everyone. I guess in my past 3 years experience in Gojek, we use a lot of this, especially in Golang development, let's say, right? And also Python development. So I believe you will also be familiar with this. And with this, basically, this is like just a simple Python application, right? This is a simple Python application, but if you see here, basically, I have my WSL running over here. So is if you see this one is basically like a Ubuntu, right? The Bionic version, and then it just ran pretty well inside my Windows basically. And of course, you can access using the Windows terminal if you want to. You can do everything in here, and this is basically you can have your drive over here basically connected and mounted directly to the Windows. So basically, you can do the copy from inside or outside of the Linux itself. So in this case, I won't go deep into the Windows terminal, but more into like the VS Code for easier development life cycle, right? So in this case,
Mas
this
Tio,
is
sorry to
best.
interrupt.
Sure,
Can
of course.
you enlarge the font size? The
Oh,
font
sure, sure.
size. Okay.
Is it
Okay.
better now? Sorry. Is it better now?
Okay. Let me see. Yeah, it's much better. The audience will tell you. Wait.
Cool. Thank you, Mazaki.
Yeah, it's much better. I'll tell you again if they still can see the font.
Nice. Thank you, Mazaki. Cool, right? So I guess again, this is basically like a normal, a mini Python. Again, me myself is usually do the development in Golang, and also I'm kind of like doing Python for some simple stuff. So I'm probably not, it's not that advanced like most of you guys probably over here. But I try my best, right? So this one is basically I have some simple Python code, and of course. I also put it as a repository over here where you basically can access. I guess later on when you download the slides, then there will be there the link itself, right? This is basically like a simple Python and everything else. So the thing is, I guess first using WSL, right? This is will be really easy, at least for the SSH and also for any Linux features that I usually use. I usually use in the server, like in my backend environment, like in my production environment, I can have like a similar one. So that's why I think this is much better rather than using the PowerShell, at least for me, right? Again, rather than using the PowerShell or let's say the command prompt for developing in Windows, I guess me myself is much more comfortable doing this. So this one is basically, if you see over here, is complete Linux experiment, right? And if you see over here, I have also my virtual env ready. So let's say if I want to open this, right? I just need to run the flash, and then let me see. And then even this is like a lightweight virtual machine, right? Basically, all of the port forwarding and everything else is done automatically for you. So basically, you can just open this like normal, like a normal localhost, right? So if you see over here is basically like hello world and everything else. And then if you want to change this, let's say I change this to hello PyCon, and also I change the test scenario just to make sure that everything is good. Everything is fine, I guess. And then I run the flash run again. And then if I refresh this, basically, okay, hello PyCon and everything else, right? So this is basically like a complete environment machine and a really good interoperability between the Linux, the WSL itself, and the Windows. So I guess in this case, if you see this is my desktop PC, and there's a lot of basically this is my gaming machine. So at some point, if I want to do development and everything, I can kind of like have a separate environment for everything, which is I guess really nice, right? And basically, it's just working. Normally. I guess. Oh, sorry. And then I'm having, I'm opening the wrong Codespaces. I'm opening the wrong VS Code. I will show you later on for this. So let's say this is basically it. And then if I want to push this, then basically I can just use the VS Code, right? The integrated source control. But of course, you can use also the capability if you want to use the CLI and everything else. I'm just gonna use this, and then I just let's say push this like PyCon changes, right? PyCon updates. And then that's it. I'm gonna put it and I'm gonna push it. Okay. Let me check if it's working. Wait. Mm, yes, and then I'm gonna open this. Okay. So let me check. Ask me later. Git log, right? And I see, okay, there's the PyCon updates over here. So basically, this is like, pretty good. Pretty good. Um, um, environment for you to use and everything else, right? If you want to use, if you, let's say, familiarize yourself with the Linux and everything else. So this is basically like, to conclude on how WSL can help you, right? To separate your development environment, and of course, if you are really like Linux and everything else, you can have like both of your gaming machine, let's say, right? And also the development machine in one place. So this is basically what I call like the offline development. Basically, you can develop offline and everything else. And the other side, we also have like um, online development, right? If you see over here, basically from the GitHub, I'm gonna go to my browser over here, right? If you see over here in the GitHub, basically you can also register for a code space. A code space is basically like online Visual Studio Code that you can use to develop thing. So basically, if you have any repository that you think if this is interesting, and usually you do the git clone and everything else, install the dependencies, the libraries and everything else, basically you can simplify all of that by using these code spaces. If you click this, basically it will open this one, right? This one is, if you see, is like the online development all in your browser. This is basically the same. If I do this, git status, right? And then I do git fetch and git pull. And I will do basically collecting all of the latest status and everything else. Then I will have my latest changes. And again, I can also do this in my development machine, my development machine, where basically I can do the flash run again, then open this in the new page, and basically you can have the same thing, right? This is still loading, but we'll see. But basically, it will do all of the port forwarding and everything else on behind the scene, right? So basically, you can do this as your online development machine and everything else. So you can have everything, and if you see, right, it's automatically doing the open connection to my VM to my VM where this code space is running, and I can do just like the local host development like that, like what I did before, right? And the interesting thing that I want to share you is basically you can basically use anything, right? In this case, let's say I have my Raspberry Pi connected to my TV. I guess during this pandemic, right, all of us is searching for some work to do or something funny to do, right? So I have like my 3 years Raspberry Pi. Just sitting there in the closet. So I put it out and putting it to my TVs, right? And I can use this as well as my development machine. If you see over here, so it's basically the same, right? So this is, I guess, is really nice as well. So you can use this um, online development machine basically everywhere. Again, everywhere, right? This one is running on a Raspberry Pi, and if you see, I guess right now my Raspberry Pi is pretty much struggling. So this why is Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. So basically it's like a 1 GB version, but it's pretty struggling for running any Chromium tab, but it's just running just fine. So what I'm thinking is, we can just use the Raspberry Pi, or we can help probably your little sister or your little brother to do the some Python programming, right? If they doesn't have like a fancy laptops or fancy desktop, you can just have the Raspberry Pi and even use this kind of online development as a powerful development machine, right? So this is pretty great. So you can use this. Everything is nice. So even you can use the Raspberry Pi in this. So I guess it should open a new opportunity basically for you, right? To learn and use some small machine as long as it can open some browser. So you basically can do anything that you want, right? So this is basically it. So this is what I called as as an offline and online development. So basically, you can use the WSL for your offline development. Let's say if you're using Windows, and also you can use the Codespaces. Basically, if you want to do everything on the browser, right? Which is like what I did is basically my life. Everything is rely on a browser, right? If I open my desktop, one thing that I will open for sure is browser, right? For everything, for GitHub, for Discord, and everything else. Basically, I use this. So this hopefully can if some of you is new to this, hopefully it can help you on okay. Then at least you have a choice to have a development machine, whether you need the offline one or the online one, whether you need a powerful machine over there. So basically, you can use this, and also you can use the virtual code. You can use the code spaces to do the remote development. If you see over here, I connected to my code spaces, right? Basically, I can use my offline VS Code on my machine and then do the remote development to the code spaces. So basically, there's a lot of variation of this, and hopefully, it can help you. Okay, so that's basically on how we can do offline and online development, right? And the next part is basically about deployment and automation. I guess this is a pretty interesting nowadays, right? I guess a lot of you will do development. You create a beautiful web apps. You create a powerful backend, or you create super intelligent machine learning stuff and everything else, right? But at the end of the day, you need to put that into the production. By production, of course, is not always like a production system where like, let's say, like thousand of users accessing it, but it can be like as simple like you want to create a simple web app for yourself or your family or your teams. Or basically, if you want to do pitching, let's say, right? Let's say you have an idea and then you need to everyone to see it and everything else. Then you need to have like the same code like I had previously open to the public, so everyone can just access it really easily, right? So those one will come will come to the point where you need also to master the CI/CD, basically continuous integration and continuous delivery, right? Or continuous deployment for some of you say, and also the infrastructure as a code. So usually the best practice, at least from what I learned from my experience, at least at Gojek and also at Microsoft right now, right? I guess DevOps is really a good best practices, and usually what you need to do is for every repository that you have, you always need to it's always better if you can also have your infrastructure and also your testing scenario and also your deployment and everything else put as a code, right? So basically, every person that fork your repository can just do it anywhere, right? There will be no more like your code is not running on my machine and everything else. So basically, because all of the code is there, you can just fork it and then you can just deploy it, right? Basically, something like that. So in that case, so the idea is we are using the GitHub action. I guess some of you already know the GitHub actions. I guess it's the same if some of you already use the GitLab or using the Jenkins or whatsoever, basically to help you to deliver this DevOps approach, right? So basically, the idea is this is the flow usually, right? You do the planning, code, build, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor, and do the same thing again. Basically, like the life cycle of the software development, right? Um, 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 so the idea is on how we can put all of those code into to be accessible to everyone, right? In a matter of minutes. So let's say if you want to do the pitching, if you want to do like the simple app development. So basically, of course, the use cases can be really a lot, right? You can do any development, any specific, any like advanced microservices with Dockerized Kubernetes and everything else. But basically, this is the basic. So hopefully, if you understand this, then you can basically scale your apps into like even handling like the Gojek size, or let's say the Netflix size, right? It can be anything, and you can do deployment everywhere. Basically, let's say you can go to your on-prem to edge your devices, let's say to Raspberry Pi, and also you can basically do everything to as a cloud service provider, right? To Azure, to AWS, to GCP, and everything else. So I guess some of my final demo will be on how we can put the same code basically into the live into the cloud, right? I guess that's basically it. So if you see over here, the moment, okay, inactivity, the moment, let's see, let I move to my repository right over here. So the moment I put the PyCon updates here, if you see, basically I also put the pipelines over here, right? If you see. So let me check. So basically there's a tab called action here. Then there is some pipeline running like 10 minutes ago, right? Where basically I just run the PyCon updates. And if you see in here, basically there's a workflow to do the infra provisioning. So let's say I can have my code to create any infrastructure that I need. So I can create the VM, I can create the Kubernetes, I can create the container instance. And in this case, I'm using app services. App services is like one of the PaaS platform as a service offering from Azure. This one is basically similar to AWS Beanstalk, or let's say GCP App Engine, right? Basically, you only need your piece of code and running over there. So all of the load balancer, the scaling, and everything else is already there. So you just need to configure that out. In this case, I'm having my provision infra step basically to create the infrastructure, right? And also I'm having this build, test, and deploy, where basically I'm putting my all of my CI/CD step, basically like if you see over here, there is like set up the Python, install the dependencies, do the linting, do the testing, right? Build the app and do the deployment. If you see over here, hopefully it's deployed already. There is a link that you can just open it, right? Where basically hello Python. And if you see, this link is just it's in the public. You can just try to access this, and it's already live, right? So this is the beauty of it. So basically, if you can master the CI/CD and also the cloud native development, it will be really easy for you to utilize this to create any opportunity, right? Let's say if you want to create a business, and let's say if you want to, I don't know. My wife is watching the startup Korean drama, right? Where you basically have some artificial intelligence and stuff. And if let's say you have some web apps to do some machine learning inferencing, right? Let's say detecting a mouse, then basically you want to show it to the world, and then you want to deploy it easily, right? So if you see, all of this is already there in the code itself. I will walk through you a little bit, but hopefully you can just visit the repository and see for yourself, right? The idea is basically there's a destroy over here, basically to remove to deprovision the infrastructure. You can just see later on. It's basically based on Terraform. And then this one is basically the workflow. The workflow is basically the one that controlling all of these actions. If you see over here, this is basically like the CI/CD pipeline. And if you see, there is a provisioning infrastructure where it's using the Terraform, because this is using the Terraform, the open standard. Then basically you can deploy it everywhere. You can use the AWS, you can use the GCP, you can use Azure and everything else. You can have this, do the infra provisioning, and then do the default CI/CD pipeline for app development, right? This one, I do login to my Azure credential, install the dependencies, right? Do the linting with Flake 8, let's say, do the testing with PyTest, and also do development and do the deployment, and everything will be done for you automatically. And you can set this in the pipeline. So for every master commit, let's say, because I configure it that way, it will trigger a deployment. And of course, you can customize this. It depends on your on your ideas, right? You can deploy it to Kubernetes, you can deploy it to container instance, to your edge devices in the Raspberry Pi, or many things. You can do a lot of things, right? If you want to play Docker and everything else, it should be fine as well. But this is basically the idea. So you have the workflow, and also you have the Terraform part, where basically you put the infrastructure as code, right? EAC, where basically you put everything basically here, like the creating of the resources, leading of the resource group, where basically if I open here on my portal, in my Azure portal, I hope you can see my screen. It will automatically create the resource group, basically all of the instances that I need to have this run, right? Like this. So sorry. So this is like the live web service right now, right? Of course, in the production wise, probably you need to care about this. Let's say for any database access, for API management, right? All those kind of stuff. But at least this is pretty easy for you to try to build your web app and show to everybody else, right? I guess this is really good. So all of this is you can access this GitHub. You can check off the code. This is like a simple code. This is like the basic code, where basically you can see the application itself using Flask, and also there is a PyTest itself. I believe there is also some of good resources in this event, right? Discussing about the PyTest, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. So this is like a simple test, but at least you get the idea where you usually in your pipeline you need to do the linting and do the testing and everything else. And then there's also the deployment part. So
Joe, sorry
hopefully,
to
yep.
interrupt you. Please increase the font size again.
Oh, sure, sorry, sorry,
Let's
sorry,
go.
sorry. Sorry again. Is it better now? Yep.
Much better.
Hopefully
Thank you.
it's better, right? Um, okay, so I believe that's it. I guess if you see, you can walk through the code. This is like a simple code. I guess most of you will get it like in probably 1 hour less. You can understand the code, and also you can see the pipeline itself, and you see like I have the batch here. Basically, it's passing, right, and then we can open the action itself, the CI/CD, see the provision infra, and also the build, test, and deploy, where basically everything put as a code. So I guess that's it. That should conclude, I guess, my simple demo, and hopefully it can, give you some ideas or teach you one or two things related to online offline development, where you can do the development in your VS Code on your local machine, right? So basically, in this case, I'm separating my development environment with my PCs that I usually use, and also with the online development, basically you can use anything. In this case, I'm remoting to my using VNC to my Raspberry Pi, where basically I can do the same, right? As long as your devices can access the browser, then it should be fine. It can become your what is it, a media for you to do development and stuff using the GitHub Codespaces. And also don't forget about the GitHub, the CI/CD part, where I think it's always better for you to check the code itself, where basically there is a consist of the workflow and also the Terraform code to do the infrastructure as code. So I guess that's it. I guess that's it. So hopefully you learn a new things. It will be really great if you found this session useful, right? And I think it will be really amazing if you can use this to create a business opportunity, to create your own startup, let's say, right? Because I'm coming from the startup myself, so I think it's a really good one. So I guess that's it. Thanks again. So please, if you have any question or anything else, I think should be fine. And also, I guess this one is also about the presentation materials, right? I guess you can scan this QR code and everything else. I guess that's it. And also, there is some newsletter if you want to check about the developer community, right? I guess with the Guido von Rossum is joining Microsoft, I guess it will be really great news. I think you can expect a really a great Python development over there. So I think that's it. I guess to my moderator, I guess Mazaki, thanks again. If there are any question, I'm really happy to help and answer. Thanks again.
Well, thank you, Master, for the amazing talk that you have shared with us. It's
Mazaki, I guess I lost your voice for some reason. Yeah, I cannot hear you. Oh,
mm,
can you try to? Oh yeah, I can hear you now.
okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so I've personally never tried WSL because I've always coded with Linux,
Yeah,
but
me as well. Me
that's
as
a
well.
good thing to try, yeah, because
Yeah.
like it looks like um on this day Windows and Linux is they're I'm not saying they're friends, but Windows support to Linux is much better than compared to previous days when I
Yep.
first learned to code.
Yep. Yep. For sure. For sure. Yeah, I
Hmm.
guess me myself, because we are everything working from home. Uh, what I usually do is just gaming, in my desktop PC. But again, if you want to do the development, I guess WSL is really good option rather than doing, dual boot and everything else, right? I guess it's pretty nice. At least for me, the experience will be is good so far. So I guess you could try.
And it's also much easier to set up, right, compared to dual boot. And you
Exactly.
you're risking to erase your hard disk
create the
and
partition
stuff.
and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Correct. Yeah, it's pretty
Okay.
easy. You can just go to the Microsoft Store and open your, download your preferred distro, right? Like Ubuntu, SUSE, or CentOS. Basically, you can download any distro that you want over there.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
And now we've got some questions about the talks. First is from Eka Kurniawan.
Yep.
Speaking of GPU driver for machine learning, can WSL install CUDA, QDNN up to TensorFlow or PyTorch?
Okay. Thank you, Maseka. This is a really great question. I think if I'm not mistaken, right, the GPU support for WSL is on plan. Um, I guess if you search for any news related to the GPU at the WSL, sorry, I guess right now is it currently on preview. Definitely it will come, but not for now. So yeah, I guess for the if let's say you have a pretty powerful NVIDIA GPU on your desktop, right? Right now, probably it's still on preview. I think you can search or you can register for preview or beta access, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. But one thing for sure, yes, the support will come. But I guess not today. After that, it will link all of the GPU driver and also the WSL. So basically, you can do a complete um, machine learning application, right, on your WSL. So stay tuned, and probably you can just always check the news related to those GPU support on the WSL. But one thing for sure, the support will be coming.
And for Eka, you can also subscribe to the newsletter if you want
Ah,
the
yes.
updates on that, right?
Yep,
Hmm.
for sure.
And then, second question from GoFriendly Gunawan. Is the GitHub repository public? In that case, anyone can submit PR and trigger CI/CD. Is there any way to secure the CI/CD so that no one can run malicious code?
Yeah. I guess that's a fair question, I guess, and that's basically a good concern as well. Yes, I think with those repository is public because in this case it's basically just like like a sample demo, right? So basically you can check on yourself. But yes, if it's like your open source code, or let's say basically the code that you care, I guess it's always better to put some of the restriction. I guess the idea is just like any CI/CD pipeline that you have, right? Let's say whether it's in on GitLab or this is the new one in GitHub Action. Basically, you can put several check over there. So let's say you can have for any changes that user will be put, it will be need into separate branch, and then you need to review those PR basically, right? Creating the pull request and everything
Mhm.
else, not directly to the master. And then for the pipeline itself, you can always do the trigger. So let me show you one thing, right? In this case, if you still can see my screen, in my action, basically over here, I also have like the hello world destroy, where basically this is we'll call the Terraform destroy to remove all of this, right?
Mm.
To remove the infrastructure. So basically, you can create it called the workflow, the manual workflow, where basically you can do this manually if you want to. So in this case, if let's say I want to destroy this, then I can just do manually and do the run the workflow, and then it will trigger the deployment to destroy all of the infrastructure that I just created. But basically, the idea is the same. I guess you raised a fair question over there. Thanks a lot. Yes, we can put several mechanism, let's say like a pull request and everything else, and then you create a manual deployment, like a pre-approval check. Usually, this is like a normal one. Yes, basically you can do everything. Um, um, it will be better when you check it on yourself. Then you can pick and choose what is the good best practice for you. So yes, it's possible.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you for the answer. And then last question from
Sure.
Catherine Tanaya. Is Docker compatible with WSL? Is there limit compared to using real Linux?
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time, just to make sure that I'm not wrong answering this?
Okay. Is Docker compatible with WSL?
Docker compatible, okay?
Is
Mhm.
there limit compared to using real Linux?
I
Real
see.
Linux.
I see. Understood. 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 I guess first I will answer one by one, right? First is related to the Docker compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So basically, in the latest Docker version, you can do the WSL integration into
Oh.
one of your distros, right? So basically, you can just do anything. You
Mm-hmm.
can just do the Docker inside your WSL. Let me see, right? Right, like over here, if you see my terminal over here, basically I can do anything, right? Docker, I can see my process, and also checking my image and everything else. Basically everything is working. So this should be fine. You just need to have your Docker desktop and everything else, and do the integration over here. Then everything will be set up for you. So this is hopefully this answered the first one, and the second one, what is the pros and cons compared to the real Linux, right? From the development perspective, I don't feel any much differences, right? Rather than, let's say, if you need any GUI or graphical user interface, if you're familiar with the CLI and everything else, I think you just feels like home if you're using WSL. Because I guess if you do a lot of deployment with your, Linux servers and everything else, I guess you will be familiar with the CLI and everything else. If even let's say most of my colleagues is using this for everything, right? From the film for the text editor to Tmax, let's say, or even the browser, right?
Mm-hmm.
Basically do everything in the CLI. So if that's your point of view, then it's basically feels just like home. But of course, if let's say you really like the interface, right, like the XFCE or the Genome or anything else, then it will be, yeah, it will be like it's basically it's like a pros and cons, right? But for me, again, I guess this is just because this is my gaming machine and I want to do both, and not to do the dual boot and everything else, right? Just like Mazaki previously said. So I'm pretty happy with this. I guess the limitation is there, like the GPU support right now is not coming yet, but yeah, it will come. And also, if you already familiar with all of the cloud deployment, right? Cloud development, and there is a lot of tools like the Collabs, right? Google Collabs or Azure Machine Learning, right? And a lot of stuff that you can use over there if you want to have a powerful machine. So I guess it depends on your choices and the point of view, but I guess the pros and cons is always be there. But yeah, at least for me, it's good enough for the CLI and everything else for the development. Yep.
Okay, so Catherine, you can read the documentation on Docker and WSL if you want to integrate both of them. Right. So, Mas Joe, what an awesome session. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Thank you so much for the
Yep.
talk today, and also for all the audience who participate in this session. Allow me to close this session and see you later in the next session, which will be on 1350. Bye bye. See ya.
Cool. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Masaki. Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you, Mas Joe.